Hello, everyone. This is Coach Tim Campsall, and I'm excited to have a fellow business owner with us today. Something unique about my guest is he has both a business as well as a graphic design degree. In his downtime, he enjoys sketching and producing mixed media pieces, and he's most proud of creating a culture that people love to be part of, they choose to be part of, and he even gets compliments from his team. It's my pleasure to welcome Jerry to the show today. Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Tim, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Well, I am super excited to hear your story, Jerry, and be able to share it with others. So let's start with having you introduce yourself. Tell us your full name and a bit of your personal story.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name's Jerry Youngblutt. I'm the founder of Boyden Youngblutt. I started off life as a Buckeye and then slowly progressed over here to Fort Wayne, Indiana. Been here longer than I was there now. That tells you how old I'm getting to be. Geez. Um, but yeah, my life has been my family and Boyden Youngblutt for the last 35 years. I've got a couple of kids that are now grown and grandchildren and all of that. Still married to my high school sweetheart. That's all going well. And yeah, just a really fortunate, blessed guy that's had a good life. And thanks to this part of the country, I think.
Fantastic. Well, Jerry, is there a funny story that your family likes to tell about you that you'd be willing to share?
Yeah, I suppose that, I mean, there's probably too many, Tim, but I'll pull one. Okay, so here's one. I don't know how funny you'll find it, but it was funny in the moment. We were in Europe, over in Italy, trying to catch a train. I told my kids I'd take them after college, I'd take them for a family trip. So we did the Euro trip thing.
Yeah.
And there was one caveat. I will not plan anything. I'm not doing it. If you want to go, you plan it. So my daughter is that person, right? So she's got a little kind of a recipe box full of every detail imaginable. I mean, she makes AI look bad. So uh, we get there, and the point of the story is you don't want to get lost from your daughter. That's
Mhm.
the punchline, I guess, here. But so we're getting on this train, and it's like you see on the internet where there's just more people than there is train,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And so we've got these giant backpacks. We're backpacking Europe. The doors open. We're pretty close to the front. You're trying to be kind. You're not wanting to be this rude
Yeah.
American. So they rush in, and I'm trying to be the dad and make sure everybody else gets in. Well, of course, the door's shut.
Yeah. Oh
And
no.
it's like I'm standing on the outside. I have no idea where I am. I can't speak Italian. I'm just simply, I don't know where we're going. I'm completely lost. And their eyes were like this big going,
Oh
uh-oh,
no.
we have a problem. Well, fortunately for me, there was another man uh, that was there with his wife and baby. They got on the train too, and he didn't.
Oh.
So as the train sealed up, everybody kind of cleared back. And then this man just went running for that train. And he got his fingers in between that door. And I don't know if he did it or they saw him doing it, but he's literally like a spider stuck to this train, pulling
Oh
these doors
no.
open. So I'm thinking, if he gets those doors open, I'm coming in. So I sort of went in like a fullback with this giant backpack. They opened the doors, and him and we kind of got inside the train, and
Wow.
we pretty much like a bowling pin. We knocked a lot of people down. And it was just kind of crazy. I have to hear about that. And it's been since 2014. So yeah, I hear that.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. It was crazy, but what a memory. So
That is a
anyway,
great memory and a good story to be able to tell. So thanks for
uh,
sharing.
yeah,
Jerry.
it was crazy. The people on the train were not happy because here are these
Yeah.
what were five Americans with these giant backpacks. So we were taking up the place of two people, So anyway, it was a great trip. Enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Jerry, tell us, how did the business come about and at what point did you have the confidence you could run your own business?
My business started with my partner. We knew each other in graphic design school,
Hmm.
and then I went off and worked at Disney, and then I came back, got a business degree, and all that. Ran into Andy Boyden, started talking about the industry, what was missing, did we have a better idea? Uh, Sort of had a couple of meetings like that, but nothing really definitive. And then he called me one night at home. I'm working at an agency. He goes, I quit my job today. And I'm like, you quit your job? Yeah. He goes, are you doing this or not? And that was it. That was how it started. And I hung up the phone because we had wall phones back then, the good old
Yeah.
days. And my wife was like, standing there going, "Oh my gosh, who died?" And I said, "What do you mean who died?" And she goes, "You are just as white as a ghost. Something bad's happened." And I said, "No, nothing bad happened, but kind of it's pressure." Andy quit his job. He's out. He's done. And so we had to make a decision right then and there. And so we did. We jumped in. Fortunately, I mean, I felt pretty confident because I'd worked at this other agency, and you got to look behind the curtain. And when you saw behind the curtain and you knew yourself who you were, you went, there is a better way of doing this. I'm not saying they were doing things wrong. It's just maybe something that I felt that the audience would like better, the client would like more.
Yeah.
And for us, it was ROI. It was like, I didn't want to go into business not feeling like I was an expenditure versus an investment. And so we went into it with the let's be an investment idea. And so that's what we did. And it didn't play well. First 10 years, no one cared. We got to that middle 2000s and probably that encroaching on 2007, 8, the big downturn. And people started, but they remembered the conversations that we had about ROI. And so they would come back and ask a little bit more about that. So I knew that it was important. It just took a while for it to be important enough.
I love that. So Jerry, tell us a little bit more about the company. What's the name? What do you guys do? How do you help folks?
Yep. We're Boyden Youngblutt Advertising and Marketing, which almost sounds a little dated to us now. We're like, we need to create a whole nother moniker that relates to what we do. We are just a strategic minded business first firm in which, we do a lot of great creative. So, but it's strategic creative. There's a reason for everything that we do. There's some reason why we put that in there. It's just not for design and pretty. And what we learned over the years was that we really liked the idea of understanding that business from the C-suite perspective. The more we knew about the C-suite perspective and what they were really up against, the better it seemed to be for us, because then we knew why we were driving in a direction that they were asking us to help them go. And so I think that gave us a lot of confidence, just because Andy and I happened to be cut, from that cloth a little bit. We like the stock market. We like a lot of that maybe heavier lifting thing that is really truly business. So and so our client, we run campaigns, but we kind of are a full service firm. I think that's obviously changed. I think it's tough over the years too, Tim, because everybody's a marketer, everybody's an agency, and it's like, what does that mean? So to the uninitiated, we're all the same. And they're always saying, well, you need to point out your differentiators. Well, sure, you do, and we try to find those for clients too. But that's easier said than done. When you start listing the things. So I've learned that it's really the attitude you take in, and it's that 360 vision that you try to have, and really putting the client first. I mean, get in their shoes, forget about us. That profitability will happen if you do well. And that's sort of how we approached it. But that's a trust me sort of conversation versus here's how different we are. I get it. We're making it hard on clients, I think, as an agency or as a sector, to know what they're getting.
It's for people who are not in the business, it's hard to know. There's a lot of different options out there, and a lot of different promises made that don't fall through. So I love that your initial, thought and differentiator was in make it an investment instead of an expense.
Yeah, I didn't feel, people say, oh, that was really a great idea. And I'm like, it was really selfish. It was job security, to be honest. I mean, I love to say I was this, had this big idea. I just didn't make sense to me to just be a cost center. It's like, if I can't increase what you have, then you shouldn't spend any time with me. That's insane. And so I think the industry was morphing, though. I think we were moving from this high design and glitter and die cuts and all this stuff to really the brass tacks. And that was, how do you reach audiences? How do you change perception? How do you engage? And we were just at that moment. So, and for us, it seemed natural. It seemed normal. So that's all we knew. So that's where we went.
Very cool. So I'm sure that you've seen some some ebbs and flows throughout your journey. We know that successful businesses can get stuck at various stages of their growth. So
Yeah.
what's one of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how'd you work through it?
You know, there's a few, I think. There are the ones that you know are coming,
Mm,
and then there's the ones that you go, why didn't I see that coming?
yeah,
One a little one and I think there's external and internal, right?
sure.
So internally, it's like, okay, you want to run a small business. We were never about how big. We were about how good.
Okay.
How good can we get? We would rather be a 20-person consultancy than a 50-person everything to everybody
Okay.
kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So what does that mean though? If you're going to stay small, the people you hire still want upward mobility.
Hmm.
So trying to figure out that upward mobility was really caught us sort of off guard
Mm,
and was challenging. And because we built a culture where people didn't want to necessarily leave.
yeah.
So now you've got people that stay a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And yes, you can give them some more money here or there. But to be competitive, you had to be careful about your hourly rate and all those
Yeah.
things. So that was a challenge internally. But I think the culture also helped solve it because then you started to see people that just they valued culture as much as they valued money or
Mm,
title. So they really just wanted to be a part of something. And so
mm,
that helped a lot. And we were to your name of your podcast, we realized these people were critical to us as
mm.
well. And so, when you walk into BNY, even till this day, it's been 35 years, it's really hard to find out who's in charge
Okay.
because I feel like everybody should be in charge.
Yeah.
And so someone said that to us once and we're like, wow, that's the greatest compliment ever, really.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
so then externally, I think it's just, '08 was tough. I call those ricochets now. So it was like, we didn't do anything with the housing issue, but it certainly, come from the side and hit you
Mm,
in the knees.
yeah.
You went from, I tell people, the younger people especially, I said, look, we used to shoot 2 photographs in a day for an RV, one from the front inside, one from the back inside, took all day. After like a week after that, because of '08, you had a reduction in staff at the
Mm,
client and you had people with their phones or something out shooting those same shots.
right.
It dropped that far that fast.
Wow.
And so that is sobering. So we had to redefine in a weird way. You had to reflect and say, who are we and what are we doing,
Yeah.
and how are we going to change? Because you trying to understand the client was really paramount at that moment
Hmm.
because their mindset just went from having and comfort and
Yeah.
security to the opposite.
Yeah.
So we had to get in line with that. But yet we found too, if we could talk positively and say, look, we will bring this back. We have your back. We're
Hmm.
going to grow this again. We'll
Yeah.
get there. And we
Yeah.
did. And we did. So,
Yeah.
it's then when COVID hit, there we go again.
Sure.
So I always tell people it kind of stinks getting old, but at the same time, there's some comfort in that you've been there, done that, and
Yes.
you know how to sort of handle it the
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah. Fair enough. At least the knowing that this too will pass and we'll get through it. Maybe, right? Yeah.
Right. I mean, the alternative is not good,
Yeah.
so you may as well go there, right?
Yeah. So another angle on success. We know that it doesn't happen in isolation. So I'd like you to pick 3 people, Jerry, that you're most grateful for them as being there to help with the business's growth. So who are those 3 people and how they help you?
That's a tough question because it feels like there's 300 people. And some of them are clients. I mean, to be honest, in your early days, they
Mm,
wanted to try you and to give you an opportunity. They loved it that you took the big risk.
yeah,
And so, I mean, you cannot deny that. But in a closer circle, I would say Andy Boyden
sure.
is right there at the top of the list, just because he was a good friend, and we were so much the same but so different at the same
Mm,
time in terms of looking at the same situation.
yeah.
But we were also open to listening to one another. And so, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better partner than that.
Yeah.
And so we really, I mean, we could argue over the years, but we were never mad at each other. It's the
Mm,
strangest thing I've ever seen. And I think we probably feel like we're brothers more than we are these strangers that became business partners. It's just almost divine feeling because it was like that. He was just supposed to be in my life.
Yeah.
And then I think the other people that have probably made the sacrifice for me are my family,
Mm.
my wife and my two kids.
Yeah.
I went from being, I played golf as a kid on the golf course all summer long, in this Payne, Ohio area. Not a beautiful golf course, a 9-hole golf course. Anyway, we'd walk with my friends and I'd be like, you think we'll ever hold down a job? Because we certainly don't feel like we're this like kind of people who will ever be focused enough to hold a job. And then fast forward to BNY, and I hate to say it, but I almost became this obsessive, workaholic.
Mm.
And I think that's part of owning your own business. It's just 7 days a week forever. But I enjoyed it. And so my family had to endure that.
Mm.
And so I give them a lot of credit for hanging in there with me,
Yeah.
not making me feel guilty.
Yeah.
And actually now my older children, it's great because they have their own opinions on things that I have to deal with. And it's just amazing.
Yeah.
So I've always shared with them the realities of my world back then, even when they were probably 12 years old on up.
Mm-hmm.
So we've sort of nurtured them into these people that get the industry and get the challenges. So those would be my 3 or 4 people, I guess.
Yeah, very cool. That's awesome. Jerry, the path to building a successful business has a lot to do with continuous learning. So what's been your biggest learning as an owner?
Man, good question. Hard question. I think it's kind of like what we're seeing now. I see these themes, these patterns in society. It's especially with the politics and the stock market. Why something you get good news and your stock goes down. Just all these things seem to be changing, and I think we've had flickers of challenges over the years. Culture was never one, but we did hit a cultural flicker. And it was just, I woke up and went, wow, those people seemed like they were good at their job, but they changed the culture of our company. And it slid in overnight. You didn't even really see it. And by the time you saw it, you're like, I've got to fix this.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've had some of that. I think the paradigm shifts in the technology, what to believe, we had the web early on in our career, about 94, 95. So that was a big difference from where we had been. Sure. And then navigated it. And then we went to mobile, and we heard for 7 to 10 years, mobile was the only way. You should invest in mobile. So through all of that, what I guess I've learned is that you're always going to be challenged by the next new thing. And rather than, just look at it for a second, and figure it out. Don't overreact. I thought pivoting was the answer, in those days. What I've realized now is, yes, you have to pivot, but the intensity and how intentional you pivot is critical. It's everything.
Love that, yeah.
We have been ahead of the curve on some things. And then we were like, so when the web took off, it was probably around 99, 2000. We were like, okay, we're this agency, but maybe we should be a digital shop. So I think we had 8 developers in our office at that time. Well, it wasn't adopted as quickly as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're gone after a couple of years. You're gone. Okay, we got to not carry this overhead. So now we have to figure out how we're going to downsize developers. And I know what most people do, and I won't tell you I'm the smartest businessman, because I think we do things a little bit from a business perspective and from the heart. And, Tim, it took us a year, but we never let go. We found a job for each one of those developers, and nobody got laid off ever. Wow. We just said, we're going to hold on to them. And eventually the last one, it took a year that we finally found that person a job. So we felt good about it. Yeah. And I'm not advocating that's the right way to do it. It was an expensive way, but not an emotional expensive way. It was worth it to us. So,
well, and it comes back to how I introduced you, about your employee saying that that you have an incredible culture. Like those things, those deposits build over time, right? And allow you to call in favors when you need to call in a favor.
Well, I think too. I mean, I think it's different if you're running 1,000-person company, right? I mean, I think they have to make decisions differently but when you're running a family sort of a company, you know those people. You know how difficult you're going to make their life if you need to cut their hours or cut them loose. So that is just painful. We were blessed to be able to do it in a way that made it as good as it could be, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
I like also you were talking about, pivoting, but not jumping all in and not going too fast. We've all heard stories of like Kodak and people who don't pivot at all and they're no longer around.
yes,
What I took away from your message is yes, embrace the new, but then figure out what's the right timing and
yeah.
speed at which you do that transition.
Well, I think you're right on it too, because and you know what, it's almost easier to help. We're pretty good at helping someone else pivot
Hmm.
because we're not emotional.
Yep.
We're coming in and looking at it,
Yeah.
and I think we offer really great advice. And it's interesting if you were to ask. I don't know if you're going to ask me this. I hope I'm not getting ahead of you, but if you would say, well, what regrets have you had? I would say the mistake that I've made is I should have set up like a 3 or 4 person board of director, even though we were a small company. I
Sure.
think that would have been the smartest thing in the world, because, and I think people need to do that for themselves, to be honest, because those people they just ask you the tough questions. You got to give them the answers. You got to be transparent. And I think the advice is really fresh. And I think it's probably more accurate than your biased opinion from
Yes.
being in this state of panic, right?
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
that would be, I mean, I don't care if you're one person as a freelancer, I would still get 2 people outside of that and say, would you mind being my mentor? Because I think it would make a lot of sense, or at least my board of director.
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Love it. Yeah. Another thing that is super critical to success is our mindset. So what guidance would you give to a business owner who's feeling frustrated or discouraged in their business?
I've done this myself, personal life as well as business life. Um, it depends on your personality, but if you're sort of a driver, and I think Andy and I both kind of have been those people, you are it's tough to satisfy yourself, and
Yeah.
so you're probably a little bit more critical
Yeah.
of other people too. So the bar's kind of high, but I think it's important to have these ready to go too. It is 3 or 4 things that you just go write down that you go, we accomplished, we did that. That we won right there. And I think those go-tos, those accomplishments, they're just critical, because I look back now at a few things and I go, could I do that today? How did I do it when I was 35?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? So I think it's important to remember the positives is my point. And
Absolutely.
you don't remember them when you're feeling low. So write them down ahead of time, put them in the safe, whatever you got to do, but have them ready to go.
Isn't it amazing that how easily we can figure all the negative stuff and
Yeah.
recite it out, but we tend to discard
Yeah.
and forget all the positives that have happened.
Yeah. And I can't even imagine now. We didn't really have most of my time, social media. And I think social media is really misdirecting,
Hmm.
what is real,
Yeah.
what's achievable, what's normal, what's natural, what's average.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for those folks. So, I mean, on one hand, I should say I feel bad. On the other hand, what a great time to test your mettle and to really make you a stronger, better person for the rest of your life. And I know it sounds silly, and I'm not I wouldn't be like a journal. I couldn't write in a journal, and I'm not that guy. But I'm telling you, to have these pre-thoughts ready to go, it's just a good place. And you start training yourself to go there, and you're like, you know what? Okay, I'm doing okay. Because I think a lot of people in my industry, there's a lot of ego to be,
Sure.
uh, and they have to have the ego, or we have to have the ego, maybe I should say. But at the same time, you're probably as insecure as anybody. You're thinking, geez,
Yes.
I got to make sure this is right. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Life is interesting, that's for sure. But having those ready to go, I've accomplished this, and reminding yourself that you can do it and you've done it, sure is a good lift.
Win board. So we encourage our clients to to keep track of their weekly wins and have it
Yeah.
some type of somewhere, whether it's on a dry erase board or in a binder, right?
Yes.
Notepad. But the other thing is the whole, and you started to touch on this, is what we think, feel, and believe is what we end up attracting. So
That's right.
if we are having these negative thoughts and beliefs in our head, then
Yeah.
we do have to reprogram that on a daily basis and
Yeah.
shift the negativity to, to positive thoughts and positive beliefs and right.
That's
And
right.
I am statements or affirmation statements, things like that, that we talk ourselves into, we're going to be successful, and then we end up being successful.
You're right. I mean, even as a kid playing golf, I remember a guy who was a really good golfer talked about Palmer and Nicholas and some of those guys back in those days. And he was telling me how they visualized the
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And they literally saw the ball either rolling toward the hole, let's call it that.
Yeah.
And that was sort of the chain reaction that made it happen, and I see a lot now, like I said, I feel like I'm a person that sees patterns in society a little bit. So manifestation is one of those things that you're just seeing so much right now. You're hearing the word intentional a lot, which I think is interesting. It's sort of like take a breath, think about it.
Yeah.
So that's how I perceive it anyway. So I think it's really fascinating that as a society, we are doing some of these things and we're almost educating one another more than we ever have on the right and a helpful way, maybe not the right or wrong, but maybe more of a helpful way.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
and it goes back. I mean, if you've ever read the book Think and Grow Rich, right? That was a very elaborate study into into manifestation and into the law of attraction. And so it's very real.
You'll reap what you sow. Yeah.
Jerry, as you think about the next year, what's your biggest priority that you still need to sort out?
Man, there's a lot of those. I guess I say it this, I will start with this. I realized how simple life was and business was when we started, and probably up until that 2008, 9, 10, 12, something in there. I feel like today there are so many. I think of the movie the 300 or whatever it's called, where all those arrows are coming. The sky is blacked out because there's so many threats coming. That's sort of what it feels like now. And not all of them are threats, but there are certainly things to deal with.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of that going forward. Even like I was an early adopter of the AI, or I think fairly early, and I stayed the course on it. So, like everybody, I was so excited about it.
Yeah.
And my goal though was to find the edges.
Okay.
Where's the bottom of this thing? What can't it do?
Yeah.
And try to step back. And I feel like I've done that. It's great at assisting. It's great at, helping you get to the fun stuff that you really want to put your brain toward. I think it's really good at all of that. But I do think that we're assuming it can do more than it can do, which is making it tough for agencies and clients. I think the client isn't looking at our world that closely. And so they see this amazing video, but they don't realize it took, 30 people, 300 hours each, and all these tokens to be able to get that thing. And if I put a number to that, they couldn't afford that video. Yeah. We're still better off to do it the way we've been doing it to some level. So I think the challenge going forward they're numerous, but I think they're going to evolve around this tech. And I also think that we have a lot of clients that are building in-house teams, which is great. I've never been that agency that said, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." I'm like, "Great! That just means I have people on the inside we can dovetail with. It's going to be awesome."
Yeah.
But it's sort of moved to, well, I don't know if we need you because we have the in-house team. And the interesting part of that is that, just like I said earlier, agencies, we all put the name down, but we're all different, really. We're not as similar as they think we are. And it's tough, but you got to find those differences. And if they align with you, then good for you and them. But the in-house teams are built differently than the outside team. And what we have to worry about and think about every day is different than what they have to, even though we all do similar jobs. So to me, it's A plus B gives you the whole alphabet, right? So blending us together is where the strength is. And I think that, you're always careful, because I don't think there's any work that they're doing on the inside that is not important. I think it's hugely, vastly important. And I'll tell you why in a sec. But I think what we do is that fresh perspective, right?
Absolutely.
So there's all of that. So when I think of a company, and if you ask me, well, what do you think the biggest mistake that clients are making nowadays is, I think that there's a misalignment on the inside.
Mm.
And it's for natural reasons. If the C-suite says, let's go here, do they go tell the person that then will lead the charge, or does it get sifted through emails and 6 different meetings? Yeah, it does. And so at the end of the day, humans being human, we mistake things.
Sure.
It's usually not really hidden agendas that's derailing it. It's just misunderstanding, or it's a different understanding. Yeah. And so what we try to do as an agency is go in and make sure the alignment is there. And then how do we help that alignment go all the way through to their customer? Yeah. And the only way you're going to get that done is if they have a nice, that they have abilities on the inside that we can mesh with, because it's going to take all of us to keep that message aligned. Yeah. And anyway, that's my preaching for today.
Yeah, no, it makes a ton of sense. Having, in my previous life, having been on the marketing on the inside, right, there was so much value that the agency brought, because that's what you guys did all the time, right? Like your part of your role is to stay ahead of all this stuff that's changing and be an expert, right? And be able to help, in my case, to help us on the inside. Well, how does that get executed, right? Like what are the platforms, and where are people spending time, and how do you talk to your target market? Like all that takes, years and years of understanding to be able to get good at that. And with the changes, how quickly stuff is changing, right? With all the different new medias and stuff, it's just, I don't think it's possible for an internal team to be able to stay on top of all that.
No, I think you're right. And I think what the internal team does so well, though, is they can read the room really well, and they know. So you have to, and I think they live it so much every day on that narrow focus that they're very valuable in what they think and what they know, and their instincts are critical. Yes. Yeah. So it's just factoring all that in is so important. And I think we've mostly went through that era where it was combative. It was sort of a set up to be competitive. I hope we've gotten through that. It's silly. Yeah. There's just there's a greater good that can be accomplished, and it's just going to simply take everybody. It takes more everybody's nowadays to get things done, because there's so much social and content needs. That there's no way anybody's going to be able to do it all and do it all affordably. But what you have to do is you have to do it in a framework that says this is within brand. Yeah. And I think that's critical. So, yeah, I mean, and I think too, when you're an agency, you're working with different clients. We work with different size clients. So we're getting lessons from everybody by doing different kinds of projects. So if you can bring that experience in, that helps a client as well. So.
Yeah. Last question, Jerry. Jim Rohn, one of his famous quotes is, "We become the average of the 5 people that we spend the most time with." So as you reflect on that, what advice would you have for a business owner who's feeling stuck and just simply trying to figure it out on their own?
I would say don't. First of all, you don't have to. Nobody expects you to. I mean, honestly. And I think you got to get that out of your own head. I talked earlier, because I think that's how you are, though. I mean, I think that's natural. That you're feeling that way is normal. Yeah. I would acknowledge that. Sure. Yeah. But don't. Because there are so many people, and people are generally really good, and they want to help you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know more people that are just kind and will go out of their way, and as long as you give them the room to say what they really believe. Yeah. So I'm back to that idea of kind of creating that board of director. That's a great idea, I think, because it alleviates that, and you feel like you got somebody you can talk to. The other thing I did is I joined a CEO group that again, I hate to say it, I'm just not much of a joiner. I'm that loner guy, just like you just said a few seconds ago. But I joined the CEO group that had a moderator, and there were people from Canada, agency owners in Canada, clear out to San Francisco, all the way down to Florida. And we were also different, but we were also the same. And it was just this safe place to talk about your challenges.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, I guess it's sort of like a comedian thinking they have to be funny all the time, you know, probably not gonna be.
Yeah.
And an ad guy, you don't always have the headline at the top of your mind. So talking to those people about employee challenges or COVID challenges, how did you navigate that? What do you do? All of that was really a great place to be. So in lieu of having this 2 to 3 person board of directors, that's another thing they could do. It's not very expensive to join them. You meet once a month. I think it's just really, you'd be great at it, by the way, of running that kind of a group. You probably don't want to, but hey, you'd be good at it. And so it's really, it just makes people think and talk, and it's therapeutic, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the couple things that come to mind is it's very lonely at the top, or it can be, right?
Yeah.
And as an owner, we've got all this pressure of figuring it out and making it work. And we can't
Yeah.
really tell employees that, oh my goodness, I'm not sure if I'm going to make payroll this week, and it's stressing me out, because
Yes.
it's not a burden that they need to hear about.
No, it's it's a defeating thing. And that's a hard thing you had asked earlier. You know, one of the tough things you've had to learn. I think it's some of that. You know, you didn't always get great news. Yeah. You know, but you knew you were going to be fine as a business, but you couldn't share all of that. And yet we try to be super transparent. You know, so we want them to understand the challenges, because I guess, you know, part of the fun of a small business for me has been, and they probably hate this, but I don't think they do. But Andy and I like financial information. We like to watch the market. We watch other brands. We do all this, and we try to share that, because it's sort of this slow roll of education of things that people normally wouldn't, you know, have to hear or wouldn't choose to hear. Yeah. But if you do it in an entertaining way, I think it's fun. It really makes for better conversation. And I think it helps the agency too, though, in the long run, because we always factor in what is going on. What's the mood? What's the sentiment in the world, in the US? Because that impacts decision-making.
Absolutely.
It just does. So you can be on brand, but how you would brand them this year versus last year, as far as the nuanced stuff, might have to change a little bit. Sure. Because there's some sensitivities and there's some opportunities, and we want to take advantage and be protective of some of that. So I think it all helps right on down to the entire team to say, oh, yeah, this is what's going on out there. This is how people feel. Yeah. So when I write this blog for this client or whatever, I've got to take that into account. I think that's really important.
Jerry, it sounds like you've been blessed with some incredible people in your journey. If they were all here today, what would you want to say to them?
Thanks. No, I would say to them, this was a group. There's no way we could have ever done this alone. We just couldn't have. And even if you could, it wouldn't have been nearly as much fun.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. Appreciate your time, and thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. That was a lot of fun. Hope I didn't say anything too stupid. So here we go. We'll see.
Thanks for listening to the Self-Made is a Myth show. Please help spread this movement by liking and subscribing to our show and following us on Facebook and LinkedIn. To join our movement, go to bemadtogether.com. Okay, folks, that's a wrap. Please pay it forward and be sure to tune in next time to the Self-Made is a Myth podcast.